On the 22nd day of the 5th moon of 130 AC, a beast that had already cheated death clawed its way out of the God's Eye Lake. With his guts trailing behind him and a wing torn from his back, the dragon Caraxes, known as the Blood Wyrm, dragged his broken body onto the shore, refusing to die in the water. He pulled himself all the way to the walls of Harrenhal before he finally collapsed, the last furious act of defiance from the most savage dragon of his era. This was the end of the Blood Wyrm. But to understand the legend, you have to go back to the beginning. Caraxes was never just Prince Aemon Targaryen's war mount. He was a living weapon with a history as red as his scales. He was a veteran of several wars, a dragon whose ferocity was legendary even among other dragons, and his uniquely long serpentine body made him one of the most dangerous creatures to ever haunt the skies of Westeros. From his first rider, a dutiful prince, to his last, a rogue warrior, this is the complete story of Caraxes the Blood Wyrm. Long before he was ever claimed by the rogue prince, Caraxes hatched in the Dragonpit sometime before the year 72 AC. From the moment he broke free of his shell, it was obvious he wasn't like the others. The Dragon Keepers, men who spent their entire lives around these incredible beasts, took one look at his blood-red scales, his unnaturally long and winding neck, and his lean, vicious build, and they gave him a name that would stick for life: the Blood Wyrm. Even as a young dragon, Caraxes was known as the fiercest and most intimidating of all the hatchlings in the pit. His anatomy alone was unconventional. Unlike the stockier, more powerfully built dragons, Caraxes was unusually slender and long. Concept artists for the show House of the Dragon described him moving with a slithering, almost deformed motion. He was built like a living whip, with a long neck that could strike like a snake and extra wing-like membranes on his hind legs that gave him terrifying agility in the air. His roar wasn't the deep bellow of his kin, but a terrifying, high-pitched shriek. This strange physiology has led some to wonder about his origins. Whispers among Meisters suggest that Caraxes was the perfect example of Septon Barth's controversial theory that dragons aren't pure creatures at all, but magical chimeras, a hybrid of fireworms, bats and wyverns. With his fire-breathing, bat-like wings and a serpentine body, Caraxes certainly fit the bill. In 72 AC, this formidable young dragon was claimed by Prince Aemon Targaryen, the eldest son of King Jaehaerys I and the heir to the Iron Throne. Aemon was a proven warrior, but also dutiful and cautious, a complete contrast to the ferocious dragon he chose. But the bond was powerful. Together they became a symbol of Targaryen might, often flying patrols alongside Aemon's siblings Baelon on the legendary Vhagar and Alyssa on the swift Melees. Caraxes got his first real taste of battle in 83 AC during the Fourth Dornish War. Flying alongside King Jaehaerys on Vermithor and Prince Baelon on Vhagar, Aemon and Caraxes fell upon the Dornish fleet, burning it to ash without taking a single casualty. It was a brutal, one-sided victory that proved Caraxes was born for war. A few years later, in 92 AC, when Marish pirates invaded the island of Tarth, Aemon flew Caraxes ahead of the main fleet to deal with the threat. But it was on Tarth that tragedy struck. While Caraxes was away from the camp feeding on goats, Myrish scouts ambushed Prince Aemon, and a single crossbow bolt to the throat ended the life of the Prince of Dragonstone. Just like that, Caraxes, the fearsome Blood Wyrm, was riderless. For 13 long years he remained on Dragonstone and in the Dragonpit, unclaimed, growing larger, meaner and more cunning. waiting for a rider whose soul burned as hot as his own. Before we get to the rogue prince and the chaos that followed, if you're enjoying this story from the world of Westeros, consider subscribing for more histories and lore. In 105 AC, Caraxes finally found that soul. He was claimed by Prince Aemon Targaryen, Aemon's own nephew, and maybe the most dangerous man in Westeros. If Caraxes was a sword, then Daemon was the hand that would wield him to his full, bloody potential. The bond was instant and total. The restless, twitchy, and aggressive nature of the Blood Wyrm was a perfect mirror for the rogue prince himself. Neither of them was meant for a cage. They both craved freedom, chaos, and the roar of battle. This deadly partnership was forged in the War for the Stepstones, a savage 9-year conflict that kicked off around 106 AC. Here, Caraxes wasn't just a dragon, he was an instrument of pure terror. The rocky caves of the Stepstones, which gave cover to the Triarchy's soldiers, were tricky for larger dragons to navigate, but Caraxes' slithering agility was a massive advantage. He executed daring night raids, burned soldiers on the beaches, and provided air cover for the Velaryon fleet. The connection between rider and dragon seemed almost psychic. During one fight, when Daemon was struck by a flaming arrow, Caraxes himself shrieked as if he felt the prince's pain and immediately retreated. It was in this war that Daemon pulled off his legendary stunt, faking a surrender to lure out the crab feeder Craghas. As the enemy soldiers emerged, Caraxes and the Velaryon forces, including Laenor Velaryon on his dragon sea smoke, swept in and annihilated them, with Daemon personally cutting down the crab feeder. Caraxes was now more than just a fierce dragon. He was a battle-hardened killer, honed into a living weapon by a rider who was just as vicious. Their story didn't end there. As the seeds of civil war were sown, Daemon married Rhaenyra Targaryen, and Caraxes made his new home on Dragonstone. And when the Dance of the Dragons finally erupted, Caraxes was on the front line for the Blacks. In a stunning show of force, Daemon flew Caraxes to Harrenhal, the largest castle in Westeros, and took it all by himself, landing atop the massive Kingspire Tower as a clear message of dominance. You can't tell the story of Caraxes without talking about his lifelong rival, the ancient colossal dragon Vhagar. But their history didn't start with hatred. Back in the Fourth Dornish War, a young Caraxes flew right alongside Vhagar, who was then ridden by Daemon's uncle, Balon Targaryen. For years, they were two of the most powerful dragons in the Targaryen arsenal. The rivalry only became personal when Vhagar was claimed by Laenor Velaryon, Daemon's second wife, and the two dragons often flew together as a pair. But by the time of the dance, things had changed. Vhagar was now ridden by Daemon's bitter nephew, Aemon One-Eye Targaryen, and she was the enemy. Vhagar was the queen of all dragons, a living legend from the Century of Blood, nearly twice the size of Caraxes and far stronger. But Caraxes had something Vhagar didn't: speed, agility, and a savage cunning that made him a deadly opponent. Their intertwined history, from allies to in-laws to mortal enemies, was setting the stage for one of the most famous duels in Westerosi history. The incredible bond between Daemon and Caraxes was at the heart of this conflict. It raises the age-old question: are dragons just intelligent beasts, or do they form deeper, more sentient connections with their riders? While some dragons have been seen to mourn, Caraxes often appeared to be a seamless, unthinking extension of Daemon's own will. But their synergy was undeniable. Daemon's recklessness amplified Caraxes' natural aggression, creating a partnership that wasn't just a man and his mount, it was a single entity of fire and blood. This story, which began in fire, was always going to end in fire. After years of bloody war, Daemon had had enough. He flew Caraxes to Harrenhal and issued a challenge to his nephew. He waited for 13 days. On the 14th day, Aemon finally arrived on Vhagar. As the sun began to set over the God's Eye, the two dragons launched into the sky. Caraxes, ever the cunning fighter, used the glare of the setting sun to his advantage, diving at Vhagar from Aemon's blind side. The Blood Wyrm slammed into the ancient queen with a piercing shriek that was heard for miles, and the sky exploded in a storm of roars and dragon flame. Locked together, the two dragons clawed and tore at each other as they plummeted toward the lake below. Vhagar, with her overwhelming strength, ripped Caraxes' belly open with her claws and tore one of his wings clean off his body. But even as he was being gutted, Caraxes coiled his long neck and sank his teeth into Vhagar's throat, refusing to let go. In that final desperate moment, Prince Aemon Targaryen leaped from his own saddle onto Vhagar. He ripped off Aemon's helmet and drove his Valyrian steel sword, Dark Sister, straight through his nephew's empty eye socket. All four of them, two princes and two dragons, crashed into the God's Eye in a torrent of steam, fire and blood. Vhagar, the largest dragon in the world, died in the lake. Aemon and Daemon were lost to the depths, but Caraxes, the Blood Wyrm, refused to die in the water. In one last, impossible act of defiance, he dragged his mutilated body from the lake, his insides spilling onto the ground, and crawled onto the shore. He died on the cold stones beneath the walls of Harrenhal on his own terms. Caraxes' legacy is more than just a story about a war dragon, it's a story about pure, indomitable will. He was the dragon nicknamed the Blood Wyrm for his savagery, the serpentine beast who was the perfect reflection of the rogue prince. He fought and bled in multiple wars, took one of the greatest castles in Westeros all by himself, and in his final moments he faced a dragon twice his size and ripped out her throat. His refusal to die in the water, that final crawl to land, is the ultimate testament to his character, a fierce, cunning and unrelenting force of nature that refused to be broken even in death. If you made it this far, you're a true member of the small council. Be sure to like this video and subscribe for more stories from the history of Westeros. What's your favourite Caraxes moment? Let us know in the comments below.